Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back your host, Tim Grogan.
Whoa, we're back together. We're family again. It felt a bit disjointed before. Different rooms, everyone going in different directions. I was lost. Now I found you. So for everyone who's been really great on Twitter and on the app, I've been told we are trending #InTalent as the #1 topic on Twitter. So congrats for everyone who's giving that a little bit of something. That's pretty cool. And how good is the app, actually? Some amazing things that people are sharing. It's really good reading. Don't forget those evaluation forms. They're super important as well. Now, when I said, look, I'm happy to be the MC, I said I want to create like an Alan moment. You know how they're always giving stuff away? You know, the crowd goes crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Look at you. I hope you win, right? Yeah. And I was like, what can we do? And they're like, Tim, we could give away maybe like a couple of iWatches. How about that? And I'm like, that would be amazing. iWatches aren't out yet. That would be really amazing, right? So we are able to get like iWatch vouchers. We have 2 that we are able to give away today, which is exciting. And so I thought we'll do it like a really simple game. I'm going to pick a number. We're just going to go around the room and you sort of guess and we'll try to work that out. It should be really cool. No, we're not going to do that. That'd be ridiculous. So what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you how we're going to make this work. But you know, in North America, of course, when someone wins something, they do go and get excited. When someone wins something in Australia, it's kind of like, yeah, I got it. I don't really want an iWatch, but anyway, I'll take it. Yeah. Give it to my brother. Yeah. I'm an Android fan. So skeptical, Australians. You can tell this is a Talent Connect Australia event because we serve booze before the event actually finished. That only happens. That only happens in Australia. Yeah. Welcome. Okay. So this is how it's going to work. I want some suggestions for the people who are going to win to get a little bit of energy. I want them to yell something a bit stupid. Can anyone give me a suggestion or anything ridiculous? What? Okay, I'm going to take that. A big yeehaw! All right, thank you. Okay, so how this game works, pretty simple. Just put your good old hands underneath the chair and you find an envelope. Give me a big yeehaw. There's 2. Stand up. Music down for a second. What can we hear? Yeehaw! All right, well done. Victory is mine. I hope you like Apple. Don't give me that Android business. Okay, very good. We're in the home straight, folks, and I'm super excited to introduce our next guest. He's an incredible, inspiring leader here at LinkedIn. He's the VP of Talent Solutions. He's come from Chicago. He is Wade Burgess. Please give it up for Wade Burgess.
Hey guys, welcome back. I mean, like, this is the right spot when you like give people drinks before the American comes on stage. Smart move, good move. It is, to me, really exciting. The buzz from today, I don't know if you feel that or not, or maybe it's just me sort of, coming in, flying in this morning, and I'm supposed like either Talent Connect or it's Australia winning the Cricket World Cup. It's like something feels really good here. So it's exciting for me to share this 4th annual conference that we've had with you. And I don't know if you know this also, but today is actually the 12th anniversary of LinkedIn. So today, I guess that's applause-worthy, but pretty cool. So for those of you Mexican nationals, Cinco de Mayo, 2003 was when we actually launched the business. And so thank you for this journey as members, as talent acquisition professionals. Some pretty cool things have happened in the last 12 years. So it's been a lot of fun. And so I think today, things that you've seen and that you've experienced, I want to wrap up with some things that I hopefully will inspire you to continue this path that we've been on. And I feel like this is my first time speaking on a Talent Connect stage in Sydney. And I consider it an honor to share the stage with 2 Australian of the Year finalists. Right, so Rosie, who you heard from earlier, I don't know how that story affected you, but so I have a 10-year-old son named Luke, who I just spent the last 5 days with on a father-son trip. Really cool. I landed from Mexico, changed clothes, came here. So that story to me was pretty impactful. But I think someone who's taken a personal challenge, tragedy, if you will, and converted it into something that can be a positive impact on the world is really inspiring. So the other person, Glenn with Aspen Medical, I think in a different context, but having taken something that is like corporate social responsibility and a values-driven organization and showing the way on how companies can actually be more responsible about how they impact the world, also inspiring. For me, I had a chance, there's something called LinkedIn for Good, and I had a chance to be the founding chair of that organization. And it was about us as a company thinking about our corporate responsibility and what kind of impact we should make on the world. And so also, Glenn, what he has done is one that I personally connect with. So there's a lot of just, thank you for allowing me that, but those two stories were two that they're important to me. And I loved how that resonates. And it translates a little bit into, I feel like I'm one of the most fortunate people in the business world. Because what I do for a living and the company I work for, the vision of the company, resonates so well with my personal mission. And this is going to tie into what I'm going to talk about, but my personal mission is to help people live better lives. Pretty simple, but that's what I aspire to do. And so, for example, when I'm not with all of you, one of the things that I love to do is to coach my children at sport. And so just about 6 hours ago, my oldest son, he just started pole vaulting this year. And about 6 hours ago, he just cleared his first height in a meet ever, and I got the video of it, and I was celebrating this moment with him. It's really, when someone has a little victory, it's a big deal. So I also coach them in wrestling, which I wrestled at university, and so I coach these little kids, and they come in the room, and they have all this energy and enthusiasm and desire and no direction whatsoever, right? And sometimes these kids don't get a lot of support at home or in school, and you just give them a sense of direction. You give them a sense of community. You give them something to work toward and some discipline. And you're going to watch their little lives change very, very quickly. And it's something that when you connect talent with opportunity, pretty amazing things happen to the human. And that's actually something that I feel like connects really well with what we're doing here in this room. All of us collectively, we connect talent with opportunity. And so at LinkedIn, what we do, our vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And I don't believe there's anything that can help people, empower people more than economic opportunity. Because when you give someone economic opportunity, you empower that individual. And the people around them and their community, ultimately their country and the world. And we do this, at LinkedIn, we do this by connecting talent with opportunity at massive scale. And that's what you in this room are a big part of, is providing opportunity to many, many people. So, for example, in Australia and across the ditch in New Zealand, you're one of the most advanced markets in the world. In Australia, you have over 7 million members. And that's taking membership beyond just the general professional and expanding further than that. It's pretty inspiring to see. And then we have, in New Zealand, there's over 1 million members. That's a lot of Kiwis on LinkedIn. That's pretty cool. And that's over 20, we take over 25% of a country's population on LinkedIn. For us, the things that we believe that can happen, the possibilities with that are really exciting. So congratulations on being some of those thought leaders and people on the leading edge that other countries around the world will eventually get to. But leading in that space, you're one of the markets that's most important to us because of what you're doing in that area. So this ties into something that we're looking to build. is something we call the economic graph. So this is context for the rest of the conversation. The economic graph consists of 6 types of nodes. So the first is a profile for every member of the global workforce, so of which there are about 3 billion. And we want to have a profile for every one of them. We also want to build a profile for every company in the world. Depending on who you listen to, there are around 70 million companies in the world. And then inside of those companies, there are opportunities or jobs. And then each one of those jobs has a set of skills required, right, to be good and to be great at it. So this pillar of the economic graph, skills, is something that we've really spent a lot of focus on recently. So we just recently expressed the intent to buy lynda.com, which is one of the leaders in online education. And they actually have an office just down the road in Bondi Junction. I don't know if you guys knew that. I just learned that when I was on my way here. Who knew? But we believe that having this will allow us to really accelerate the meaningful advancement of people's careers, be able to help them add the skills that they need to be really great at what they do, or potentially to go to that next play of what they're doing professionally. We also then want to digitally represent all of the learning institutions in the world, and then also all of the professionally relevant knowledge. So imagine that you have all 6 of these types of things represented comprehensively. You have a data set that hasn't existed before. And the way in which all of those interact starts to allow things like the movement of capital from where it's strongest to where it's most needed or best deployed. Human capital, intellectual capital, all forms of capital to be able to move. So our aspiration in building this economic graph is something that we believe, done correctly, can change the way the world works. Just a little dream. So in a talent acquisition audience like this, typically the focus is on that first pillar, is on the 3 billion members of the global workforce. So let's focus on that. We have right now over 2 members per second joining our network. And as we scale, what that ends up meaning is you get access to every member of the global workforce. So I happen to think that's pretty cool, but I also have to say that creates a really interesting challenge for our teams. And it comes down to really 2 numbers. 3 billion, representation of the global workforce, right? And as we scale from our current membership of 364 million members to 3 billion, what we do, especially what we do in this room, becomes even more challenging. And that's helping you find that one perfect fit for a job out of 3 billion. Like the finding a needle in a haystack analogy is a pretty gross understatement. This is like finding Nemo in Bondi, right? It's like it's a challenge. And so that brings us to the other number. 1. Access to every member of the global workforce is useless unless you can find that one perfect fit that you need right now. So I've presented the problem. How do you go from 3 billion to 1, to that one perfect person? So we thought about, like, who can help us solve this challenge? And we ultimately ended up turning to our most trusted product advisors. It's all of you. I was looking, this morning, last night, I can't remember, recently, I was looking at an app called TripIt. I don't know if any of you guys use it, that like tracks your travel. And I found that in the last 7 years that I've been at LinkedIn, I've been to 105 cities in 24 countries, meeting with all of you and your peers and the teams that support you. The best insight we have in helping solve the challenges we're looking for are those conversations, right? It's James and Zoe from CBA, or it's Frank with Vodafone, Charlie with Westpac, right? Or it's today, great conversation with like the Australian Red Cross, ANZ, people that give us insights and ideas. I don't know if you know how valuable those conversations are. That is what shapes what we believe is possible and what we believe needs to happen. So your partnership with us in this is incredible. And it comes down to probably two things that I think really make your insights valuable. The first is insights. So you know the market better than anyone. Specifically, you know the talent acquisition market better than anyone. And you know how to set proper expectations with hiring managers, right? The second thing is fit. You in this room know better than anyone who is likely going to be a good fit in your organization and who is not. And so the amount of insight you have and your ability to determine who is and who is not going to be a good fit for your organization really depends on the information you have available to you. So like, how many software developers are there in Melbourne? Or which universities turn out the right marketers that work well in certain parts of your organization? Having that type of information is really valuable. So at LinkedIn, we have a lot of data. You have insights, we have data. And so when you start to look at, over 364 million members, over 3 billion endorsements, 25,000 higher education institutions, billions and billions of updates, it's a lot of information. And actually, of those members, over 65 million of those members are in the Asia-Pacific region, with, like we mentioned, over 7 million of them in Australia, over 1 million in New Zealand. And so in order to go from the 3 billion possible people in the world to the one person you need to fill that next role, we need to analyze this information, all of it, differently, so that we can help you find those fits more quickly. So I'm really excited to share with you some of the vision we have for this, to how to go from this 3 billion down to the one perfect fit. So hiring the right person for your job really starts with your understanding the market, right? The insights you have, the way that you use those insights, the way that you can communicate those to hiring managers and to other leaders in your business. And so let me ask you this. How many of you have worked with hiring managers that are difficult? Raise your hands. Or who really don't have a clue of what they're trying to accomplish or what they're trying to do? Yeah? On behalf of hiring managers across the world, I apologize. That's me. I mean, I have presented so many challenges for our recruiting partners. I mean, like, not distant past. I mean, like, probably this week. And so I represent the challenge that you face every day. I'll give you an example. I spent a couple of years in the UK living in London, and when I moved there, we were this American company looking to go global. And so I got on a plane, and my family and I, we moved to London, and a guy named Steve came to Australia, came to Sydney. And we said, okay, now we're going to figure out how to expand this footprint. And so now you have an American who'd never done business outside of the US, living in London, hiring at significant scale in the UK and in DACH and in the Nordics and in Benelux and all these places where A, I didn't speak the language, B, I didn't understand the culture, C, I didn't understand employment law, and the whole list of stuff that I didn't understand. Imagine being my recruiter, right? That was probably really challenging, and fortunately, we have some of the best. And fortunately, the one thing that I do know is I don't know very much. So I'm like willing to learn and listen, but I'm not alone in that challenge. A lot of you deal with this every day. And so this would probably be like that example, like a hiring manager from overseas coming in, like working with Rio Tinto to say like hire in Karratha for the first time, right? How do you deal with those differences? So it's interesting because I'm not, as a hiring manager, even inside of LinkedIn, I'm not alone in being that difficult person to deal with or challenging hiring manager to interact with and provide insights to. I was talking, you'd heard earlier today from Brendan Brown, who is really an all-star talent acquisition leader, not just at LinkedIn, but in the world, in my opinion. But he was sharing with me a story about there's a role to fill in our data center, a really important data center role. And this was one of those that, you ever have those roles that are really high profile from a lot of people? Suddenly, lots of interest in that particular role. And so they're looking to fill this, and Brendan was under a lot of stress. By the way, one of the most photogenic guys we have in the company, I just have to point out. And so he was under a lot of pressure. And in his own words, you look at this, it was going to be a real show. And so he told the hiring manager, he says, I'll swing by in an hour. So he went to LinkedIn, he looked up a bunch of stuff, and he came to the hiring manager to provide him some insights. And we ended up finding was we call like a purple squirrel analogy. Right? It's like one of those mythical creatures that nobody knows if they really exist. Right? Or maybe here that'd be like a purple possum. And so, but the size of the talent pools for this role he was looking for was 7. Not 7 in Silicon Valley, where the role was going to be located, but 7 in the world. That's how many people were available. So as you can imagine, in the room, like jaws dropped and more curses flew, and it was challenging. So, however, in that moment, Brendan and the talent acquisition team, suddenly their credibility rose as a partner in thinking about talent. Because he came with insights about why this was going to be so difficult, the amount of time it was going to take and cost to find the right person. And in that moment, he then changed some of the parameters and grew the talent pool to 126. Look how excited he is. I mean, it's kind of an amazing picture if you look at it. But you know, as he put it, the show is avoided. And most conversations between hiring managers, though, and recruiters don't go this well. They don't end up in that kind of results. So we want to improve those conversations. We want to do it by providing the right insights. And I tell this story about Brandon because basically we are building new capacity to help you have better conversations with hiring managers. More insightful, more impactful, and to raise the profile of talent acquisition professional in general with the business leaders and with hiring managers. So let me give you a sneak peek of how this works. So we recently spent time chatting with our friends at Atlassian about the hiring challenges. And Kat, who's the head of APAC recruiting, and has the difficult job, I would imagine, of overseeing technical recruitment, was hiring for their development team. So Kat knows that demand for talent is fierce for this role. And so not only was it going to require, was it Java experience, I believe? Yeah, and API design and Agile experience, so all of the things that are functional requirements for it. But on top of that, she also needed someone with managerial experience. And she kind of had this sinking feeling that that was going to make it even tougher. And as it turns out, she was right. Another purple squirrel situation, she ended up with 18 people in Sydney that fit the profile that she was looking for. So another purple squirrel situation, right? So, but by using these insights as seen here, she's able to quickly get to a larger number. What if she opened up, for example, seniority requirements? So she can go from 18 to 25. Well, 18 to 25 is good, but it's probably not enough. So let's broaden the geographic search to all of Australia with one click. And she's notices now that the talent pool resides in large part outside of Sydney. Over 60% of the people reside outside of Sydney. She can also see that well over the half of the people have less than 2 years of experience. So going to your hiring manager and saying, this role is really in demand, is one type of conversation. But going to them and saying, 70% of this talent pool started in a new job within the past 2 years, gives you more credibility as a talent partner. Some of us as hiring managers are a little thick, and you've got to come with specific data to help us understand the problem and understand why we should expand parameters and consider other candidates. But with this visual, Kat can also see who she should prioritize. So like people who have been in their role for more than 2 years that we mentioned, they're more likely to consider new opportunities. And she can hone in on them with one click and begin her outreach. So she's able to bring the right insights to the hiring manager and to help make better decisions about opening up the role. So the right type of search starts with insights, understanding the talent pool, understanding the market. Now you have to find that one perfect person out of those available people. How do you get down to that one person that you need? And that brings us back to fit. Now, I'm literally just off the plane from America. And by just off the plane, I mean 90 minutes after wheels were down, I was in a meeting today, right? So now, coming from there, we just started baseball season, which I know none of you care about. But hang with me for a minute, because I'll tie it to proper sport here in a minute, right? But the best story about recruiting in baseball, to me, is a story called Moneyball. Moneyball was a book that was quite well written, that was then turned into a movie starring Brad Pitt. And Brad played a guy named Billy Beane. And Billy Beane was tasked with finding a great team on a small budget. Sound familiar? And so at the time, baseball scouts had this belief that they could look at a player and determine whether they were going to be good or not. Just get a feel for it, you know? And they look at a small amount of data and just kind of, on a hunch, decide whether this player was going to be good. So essentially, Moneyball started using empirical data to find hidden strengths in overlooked and undervalued players. That was the general concept. Rather than taking the expensive top picks, they started looking at more data. So these scouts were basically looking at a few points of data, which I won't bore you with. But the overall idea that Billy Beane had was to expand and look at all the available data so that he could look for hidden gems that other people may not have found. And by doing this, it goes a lot deeper, but by doing this, he essentially changed recruiting in baseball. And that's what we're doing at LinkedIn. Is we're transforming talent acquisition by looking at more of the information available. So we hosted Billy Beane at a conference recently, and he was quick to point out to us that his team, called the A's, last year had one of the top records with the 4th lowest payroll. It's a pretty smart approach to talent acquisition. So imagine how this can be applied to proper sport. This approach in scouting obviously has gone way beyond American baseball. And so sports teams around the world have started to say, how can we apply this to our sport? So for example, using data to find the right fit is being used now pretty much by all the AFL across Australia. And it started a few years back when, at the time, it was the Sydney Swans used the Moneyball approach. There's 1, 2, 3. I feel like an auctioneer. Do I have 4? Do I have 4? So, but they used this approach to build up a team against what was then a star-studded West Coast Eagles. And as of 2013, almost a third of the Aussie Rules teams are now using this approach to build better teams. So in sport, this has become a very common thing. Look at more data to find insights into the people who are going to probably become really good players. So just at Moneyball, as Moneyball looked at more information to find the right players, we're on LinkedIn looking at more information to help you find that one perfect fit. So today, we help you find people by running a search with a job description, the skills, the expertise that you need, and it's been really effective at surfacing people that are a good fit for the job, or have the right skills for the job. But equally important is finding people who are a good fit for your organization. And so as we make our way to 3 billion members, we have a lot more information available at our fingertips. It can help you find talent that's not only a good fit for your job, but also is a good fit for your organization as well. So we're working on and continue to improve our ability to analyze all the available information we have to help you find some of the best candidates. And we look at things like, we look at data like the top companies that you tend to recruit from, or whether or not a person has signs of potential interest in your company, like they follow your company, or they're connected to your employees, they have relationships with people who would be potentially their peers in the future, or maybe they have certain skills, or they've gone to certain academic institutions that are likely going to be a good fit inside of your company. And we're going to continue to prioritize, as we always have, people who are going to be a good fit for the job. But now we're going to find more ways to find out people who are also fit for your company, so that ultimately you find that right fit more quickly. And we do this in the blink of an eye when you're running a search. Again, so that you can get more quickly from the 3 billion possibilities to the one person you need at the moment. So let me describe it this way. Let's say that you're tasked with hiring a new sales lead. And so you go in Recruiter and you find a good set of candidates that are potential fits. But rather than spending a ton of time recruiting and interviewing and screening, we're looking for a better way. It's how much time is taken up in all those people that aren't a good fit. Don't answer that question or groan, but it's significant. So getting down to that science of who's the right person is really important. So taking a cue from Moneyball, we're going to scour the signals that we have on LinkedIn to look at the type of sales leaders, in this case, who are already a fit. Which leaders are interested in you and your organization already? And prioritize the people who aren't just a good fit for the job, but who are likely a good fit for your organization as well. So for example, let's say that the right sales leaders actually come from startup companies instead of the large organizations that you've been recruiting from in the past. Or the people that know and like your company. Often people who are connected to your existing employees have a higher propensity to go to your organization because they know someone, trust someone that works there, and the likelihood of them moving in is higher. And so we want to be able to help you focus your search on the highest quality, warmest prospects. You can save more time and ultimately be more successful. So let me just pause for a moment. A lot of slides, a lot of words. Just let me make sure that you understand what I'm trying to say. We want to move from an area where we're helping you find people with the right skills for a job and broaden that and say, we want to help people find folks who are a good fit for the job, but also a good fit for your organization as well. That's a significant expansion of what we believe we can do to help power companies in their talent acquisition around the world. And imagine how much more relevant this is for the candidate. Think about the candidate experience. If you're interested in a company, you're interested in the job, and there's a likely fit, that entire experience is better. Even if you're a silver medalist, if you're not a good fit, at the end of the day, it's still a better experience than those companies or those candidates that you're trying to force through the funnel. So we think it becomes a win-win-win when we get job fit and company fit right. The good news about this is you don't have to imagine it anymore. This is actually something we're doing right now. These search enhancements are going into product right now. The search relevancy is already underway, and we keep innovating on the ways that we can help there. And so our focus on relevance and on search insights is something that we believe can empower you as a professional. And ultimately the goal is to be able to make you better at what you do, to be able to empower your company to bring better people in. And by doing so, you end up with greater results as an organization. But with the momentum that we're creating here, we took a step back and we said, what else could we do? What else should we be doing to help make you even more effective? And so we felt the need to think more broadly about the assets that we have and how we can be more effective. So we asked ourselves some questions, like, what else could we tap into to help you more quickly go from those 3 billion possibilities down to 1? And what else could we do to help you find higher quality of candidates? Everyone talks about quality of candidates, but it's pretty hard to quantify. And then finally, we have a members first mantra. At LinkedIn, our first value is members first. We want to make sure that our members have a high priority here. So how can we do something that's a great value for members on LinkedIn, as well as helping you get the right quality and the right speed? And so again, we turn to our best advisors, we turn to our customer base, and said, where's the area that we think that we can make the biggest impact? So what do we hear? Like, where's the intersection in this Venn diagram of speed and quality and member value? And it really jumped off the page. It's referrals. So referred people go through the recruitment process faster. They end up performing better, and ultimately they stay longer at your company, statistically. Now, referrals also come with a lot of pain points. Right? I mean, participation in most companies in referral programs is low. And also, maybe your organization is completely different. But in a lot of companies, people don't actually know who in their network would be a good fit for what roles are in their company. Like, they don't know what roles are open in their company, and they don't know who would be a good fit for it. And then finally, tracking the whole process is a pain for most organizations. So we said, okay, how could we help solve this problem? We started looking around the world at who does this well. And we found an organization called Careerify Their mission was to eradicate unemployment. Pretty big mission. And, but maybe more importantly, they had this innovative referral solution and technology and people that we believed in. And we knew they could be a good piece of this puzzle in helping solve the referral challenge. So we acquired them recently, just this year. And as that team is now like coming into LinkedIn and they're integrating and they're sort of like war roomed up and sorting this out, I'm really excited about the value that's going to happen here. So you're going to have to stay tuned for finer details. But this is a challenge, the referral challenge is one that we're going to go after. We believe that we're in a position to really help empower referrals in general. Over 30% of recruiting is done through referrals around the world. That's the space that we believe we have the ability to help. So stay tuned for details on that. Just want to wrap with this. I have seen that talent acquisition, and you have too if you've been in this industry at any period of time, is going through a pretty significant transformation in the last 5-7 years. And right now is in the process around the world of really changing the value inside of an organization. And in my lifetime, I've seen this happen in 3 industries. The first is finance. So my father started his career. He worked for a company called Mutual of New York. But at that time, most finance professionals were basically accountants working the lower level of a building with no windows, and like little green visors and a 10 key, and they were crunching numbers out, putting them in columns. Throughout my father's career, what separated a great company from a good company was financial acumen. And the role of finance rose and rose and rose to the point now, for most organizations, the CFO is one of the most significant voices in the company, the chief financial officer. That industry went through a significant transformation. And then when I personally started my career, those offices that were vacated by the finance professionals down in the basement of those buildings, the lower level of those buildings, was now filled with IT people. And they were down there, some of you remember this, they were down there sort of like fixing computers and doing, we didn't exactly know what, but there were like black lights and cats involved. And so, but through my career, I've watched those IT people then advance and now in the role of CIO and CTO, some of the most important people around the board in a company are the people in technology. Significant change in the value of the organization because the phase beyond finance was what separated great companies from good companies was their ability to use data and technology. The third is happening right now, and it's all of you in this room. Talent. Increasingly, the difference between a good company and a great company today is talent. Companies who understand that tomorrow as a company, we will be who we recruit today are the ones that are winning. This is in almost every geography I've been in almost every industry. There are companies who are leading the way in knowing that incoming talent and developing talent and retention of talent is the game. That is fundamentally the game in a knowledge economy. And it is really exciting to be, for me personally, to be in the middle of this one. And to be working with all of you on this one. So to you as talent acquisition leaders, it's you that are leading this change. And sometimes it may not feel like it. I can't tell you the conversations I have with people that say that, yeah, but I wish my organization got it. They will. They eventually will. If you become the thought leader in there and you inspire them down this path. It's because of you. And our goal is to help celebrate and accelerate this transformation of being able to, for every one of you in this room, help you become a fundamental part of being able to go from those 3 billion possibilities that should be able to in your organization to one job at a time, finding the perfect person that's the best at what they do to improve your company's output and the culture that you're building. So as you go from here, if you leave Talent Connect, you've had this experience, you've been around a bunch of people, you have not yet experienced the party, but you're about to. Hopefully, you've received some insights. You've received some inspiration. You're thinking about transforming yourself and the function that you're involved in. I would like to ask you to participate with the full enthusiasm that you have, help us transform this industry into what it could and should be. Just putting talent as a top priority inside of organizations around the world. Because in doing so, collectively, we can provide economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And in doing so, you will empower them as a person, and their families, and their communities, their companies, and ultimately, the world. Thank you.
Well, we're here. It's come so quickly. We've come to the end of the day. The only thing stopping you from being at the bar is me. Let me tell you a story, guys. No, I won't. Thank you so much for your participation today. It's been enormous. This event is not possible without yourselves being not only participants, but the connections, the sharing, the learnings. And I think Wade's inspiring speech talked about the opportunities in front of all of us. And I think the challenge I put to you for those who businesses are at different levels of maturity, visualize yourself up here. Think about how you can adapt and make the changes within your business, and ultimately come back and share that story for that next wave of talent acquisition professionals.